Hello and welcome back to another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here we have a Foundation Series Tesla Cyberbeast. Now this truck is only a week old, at least the owner has owned this for only a week, and I really think this truck's been sitting for a while. But in today's video, the reason this truck is here is to get fully dialed in, fully protected with ceramic coatings, and I'm going to walk you through step by step how a professional detailer cleans, maintains, and protects a Tesla Cybertruck. This will be not only helpful for detailers out there, but DIY enthusiasts who want to keep their truck looking the best. So welcome back, let's jump into it. I really hope this video will help a lot of you out there who are struggling keeping your Tesla Cybertruck clean. In all honesty, the stainless steel, when I first started working with this over a year ago, was a little cumbersome. Testing different products, chemicals, and trying to figure out protection for it was a real trick. I've produced, I think, 18 or 19 different videos playing around with really the stainless steel of the Tesla Cybertruck, but there's also a lot of other materials, a lot of other areas on the truck that we still want to keep clean and maintain. And this is in for a full professional detail. So again, I'm going to walk you through every single step-by-step process on how I would clean up a Tesla Cybertruck, all the products, all the tools, all the chemicals, everything involved. All the products and chemicals we use today, and even some of the tools, will be in the link in the description below. This will also be quite a long video, I would say. So I'm going to split this up chapter by chapter. So if you're a Cybertruck owner and you want to know, okay, what's the best way to clean up my suspension or my interior or my glass? What are the tools and products associated with that? This video is going to have all of that for you. The other important thing here that I would say is having a process. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do this from start to finish. No secrets held here. I'm going to show you absolutely everything. So of course, first off, let's start washing this thing. Just like with any detail, the first thing we start with is actually washing the vehicle, and that is no exception here for the Tesla Cybertruck. And one of the areas I like to start on first is all of the plastic trims, the tires, the wheels, and of course the suspension areas. So what I like to do with the Cybertruck is raise it up as high as possible. You can either put it in extract mode or very high. Either way will work. That's going to give you access to all the suspension components in here. If you off-road your truck quite a bit, it's really nice to just be able to clean this up. So all of the tools in front of me here are really for our first steps. So we have buckets with a bunch of different brushes. We'll go quickly through all of those. We also have all of our different chemicals, and we also have a foam cannon here. Now I will say this throughout this entire video, these are not products that you need every single one of. There are a few things that you can absolutely go without having. As a professional detailer, I like having all the little tools, all the little brushes, everything for those small little use cases. For a DIY enthusiast, you probably don't need that. So I will tell you of like, hey, this is an absolute have, this is something you can do instead of that. So first, starting off here, you want to have some sort of a bucket to clean up your tires, your wheels, suspension components, and all of this plastic trim here. So inside here, I have all sorts of different types of wheel cleaning brushes, suspension cleaning brushes, and everything in between. This is great for if you're trying to get into your barrels. So let's say you don't have any aero covers on your truck here. This is great for getting in there, scrubbing all of that out. You also have a brush like this that's a lot softer and will be great for cleaning the faces of wheels. Go into stiffer bristled brushes like this. These are great for tires and even areas like in here. Also for wheel wells, this is a great tool to have. It's a little bit longer brush here. It's going to help you really get into there. Maybe if you don't want to put your truck all the way up, if you're kind of doing something in between. The last couple of brushes I'd recommend having are something like a lug nut tool. These are great for really tight areas and yeah, perfect for all the fun stuff like that. Now in terms of our bucket, what we're going to be using in there for some soap, it's going to help clean up all that dirt, give us a little bit of lubrication as well. You don't want to just be scrubbing dirt into more dirt, of course you don't. So we are going to be using Meguiar's Shampoo Plus we're probably going to put about 2 ounces in our wheel bucket here, and that'll be totally fine for that. We're also going to be utilizing a foam cannon here. This is a great tool to have. Of course, everything is easier with a pressure washer at home. You can get a nice MTM foam cannon. You can also get a much cheaper version off of Amazon. This is the one I use because I need something that lasts. I don't want to replace foam cannons every single month when I'm washing, I don't know, 10 to 20 cars a month, whatever it may be. So I like the MTM foam cannon. Now inside of here, what I do with the Shampoo Plus is I actually use this at a dilution of 4:1. So 4 parts water, 1 part of our actual Shampoo Plus. Now it is a little bit more than you would normally see on the back of the bottle here. That is what I find is best for the cleaning power. I actually pre-mix this into a 5-gallon jug. Boom, it's already ready to go. Makes my efficiency way easier. You can use any shampoo you want here. I would really recommend you stay on the pH neutral side of things. You can get into acid and alkaline soaps, but honestly for the Cybertruck, I don't think it's super necessary. Now, if you don't have wheel covers, this is going to be a product that you are absolutely going to love. This is P&S Iron Buster. This is great on wheels. Cybertruck, surprisingly, even though this is an electric vehicle, does use the brakes quite a bit, especially if you're starting to drive it kind of hard, and especially if you're using FSD. For whatever reason, it uses friction brakes. I've been noticing that Teslas actually do have quite a bit of brake dust on them as of recently with more recent FSDs. So this is great for getting your wheels cleaned up. If you just have aero covers on like this, I like having this. And this is just Simple Green. This is a great all-purpose cleaner. You don't need to go crazy and get degreasers out and all that stuff. Simple Green is cheap, it's effective, and works extremely well. So this is my go-to here. Now you can use it in a multitude of different dilution ratios. What I typically like to use it as is either full strength or 50-50. So 1 part water, 1 part Simple Green. You can mix it up in a bottle like this. Then lastly, over here, we have our tire and rubber cleaner from Adams. This is diluted straight. This is going to help clean up the tires. Now, Cybertruck tires are a little bit annoying to clean because they're very knobby, but it's very helpful to have a dedicated tire cleaner. You can also use Simple Green on this if they're not that dirty. So again, this video is really how to do a deep clean, but it's also how to do normal maintenance washes on your truck as well. So you can use all of these tools once you have them. Go in there and clean it as frequently or infrequently as you would like. So let's jump into cleaning the suspension, tires, and wheels. So first order of business here is I'm actually going to grab my pressure washer. Now on here, I like to use these 40-degree tips on here. Normally these are the white ones. The reason I don't like to use, you know, a 25-degree, 35-degree, or even 30 right around there is because I like to have a wide span of water here, and I really just want to flush everything out of here. So you can do this multiple different ways. What you could come in here and do first is basically spray your snow foam on here, let it sit, and then rinse everything off, and then reapply your Simple Green, things like that that you're using to clean. You can also come in here and do this dry. The way I like to do it when you're seeing suspension components that have a lot of dirt and grime on them, I want to just rinse everything off first. So I know there's probably going to be some arguments in the comment section below, but this is the way I would recommend doing it. So now that we've got our first rinse done, I want to start going in and get the suspension first. So I'm going to grab my Simple Green here. This is a very cool spray bottle, by the way. These are called Quasars. So they push and pull is one spray. So you're getting sprays on both sides. Pretty cool stuff here. So it just makes your hand less cramped up here and will really help just disperse a lot more chemical into the areas you're cleaning here. Just want to make sure you get a good mixture over everything. Next, I'm going to grab my Adams tire and rubber cleaner here. Again, this is straight dilution, straight out of the bottle. and we're going to go in and spray the tires down here. You'll see this is going to pull a lot of mold release off, and it's going to be pretty dirty, especially on brand new trucks. Next, I'm going to come in here, hit the wheel caps here. Again, if you don't have wheel caps, this would be the time where you go in with your actual iron buster from P&S, and that would work great for it. Next, I'm going to take my 40-degree tip off of here, and I'm going to grab my foam cannon, and we're going to foam this entire area down. So one recommendation here, I would do this one wheel and suspension component at a time. I wouldn't try and come in here, spray all of them down, keep it down to one. Now you can already see the tires turning quite brown here, and I have two different sizes. So this is a tire brush as well. It's a little bit smaller than the other one I showed you earlier. This is great. Again, all of these will be in the link in the description below. So I like to start on the outside of the tire first. Get all that grime off of there, and then you can come in with Cybertruck and go on all these little knobs. Now I'm sure a lot of you are going to ask why I'm not pulling the wheel covers off here. If you don't have to pull them off, please don't pull them off. I've seen a lot of these break very easily. They also scratch the wheels, so the less amount of time you can pull these on and off, the actual better. So next I'm going to grab my wheel face brush over here, and we're going to go to town cleaning this. Aero covers are actually super nice to clean. The Cybertruck wheels are a little annoying to clean. What's actually behind these aero covers here, they are kind of a matte surface instead of an actual satin surface, so they hold a lot more dirt. Next, we're going to focus here on the suspension. So I'm going to grab this brush here. It's got a nice long handle, lets you get way down deep into there, and you're just going to come in here and scrub. One great thing with Cybertruck here is that these are all plastic. They clean up extremely easy. The other thing I love with these brushes, they actually have a silicone kind of border around them, so they're not going to scratch up anything. They're very safe and friendly on every component, even though this is a big beastie Cybertruck. Now I also like to grab this to give me a little bit more scrubbing power. This is a tire brush, so the same you'd use on here, you are more than welcome to use on the suspension. This is just going to help you get a little bit more agitation on there, so either one is totally good. Just in a professional detailing sense, I want to get this as clean as humanly possible. Next here, I'm going to grab a softer bristled brush to clean areas like the upper control arm here. This is going to gain me access into all these areas up here as well. Now this can be the same brush for your wheel faces. Just personally, I like keeping my wheel face brush a little bit nicer and cleaner and not getting any sorts of little rocks and pebbles if completely possible. And then lastly, I'm going to grab a little lug nut brush in here and get all the very tight areas. So lug nut brush here, this is great for getting into bolts, areas like that. Again, if you're not going crazy on this, you don't need to go this wild on it. But for a professional detail, we need to make sure all this is perfectly clean, and which is why I'm showing you exactly how to do this. Now, really, I'm going to spend between, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes on every single wheel suspension here. It's going to take me a little bit longer, of course, that I'm showing you on camera, but that's really the basics. So you can go as crazy as you want here, as not crazy as you want. So now that we've done all of our scrubbing here, now it's time to rinse everything down. And that is how we clean wheels, tires, suspension components. I'm going to finish up the other 3, then we'll come back here and talk about trim. Now, before you put the truck down in its low air suspension, we want to focus on all of these plastics here, and we're going to clean them exactly the same way as we did up here. Now, I say exactly because we're essentially using the same products. Now, you can omit here basically your foam cannon. So what I'm going to do with these first here is work on these in sections. I don't want to rinse all of them down at once. I like to start on the fender flares, work my way down the sides. So this same exact process works for the fender flares, that works for the whole side skirt, that works for the whole rear bumper. I'm just going to show you how it works here on this front fender. So first order of business, we're going to rinse it down. Again, we want to get all of that dirt off of there, and then we're going to come in here again with our simple green. Totally okay to get it all over the stainless steel. It's not going to harm it. Totally okay with that. We're going to let that sit for just a few seconds. Then we're going to grab our small tire brush here and come in and agitate. Now the reason we agitate this is because we need to unlock all that dirt from the pores of all of this. And the pores in plastic really hold a lot of dirt. That's why you'll see them stain very easy. So of course with this, we're going to get all of this coated. At the end of the video, we'll go through all of that. This is really our cleaning stage. So this is not something you're doing every wash. This is something you're doing when you're deep cleaning it. If you were just to wash this, what you would do is foam down the whole truck, hit all these, and they're going to be clean, especially if you have them coated. But for a deep clean like this, we need to go in there and scrub. And it's very much as simple and easy as that. So next we come in and rinse this off. And you'll see once this is completely dry, it's going to be perfectly clean and basically ready to ceramic coat. We'll go through one more prep stage before we actually coat this, but I'm going to spend the next few minutes going around the entire truck, cleaning all of the trim in the same exact way I just did there. And again, it is completely okay if you're getting all of this over the stainless steel. We'll worry about that later. We're going to talk a lot about this in how we do our BarKeepers Friend and Windex solution, removing a bunch of crud on this truck because it is filled with it. Okay, so now we've got all the suspension cleaned up, the wheels, the tires, we've got all the trim done. I even did the bed as well, basically just foaming it down, going in there with a little scrub brush. It is the same exact way you do everything else here. Rinsed it out and now we're good to go. So what I like to do when we actually wash the truck is put it all the way down into entry mode. That'll gain us access to all the top area glass to be able to clean that. Now, I also do recommend you have some sort of a pole with a kind of microfiber topper over it to be able to scrub and clean the glass. It is really hard to reach all the way to the middle and almost impossible for 99.9% of people to get to that center glass. But the other tools we're going to need here are basically the same tools you're going to use on painted normal vehicles. So having a 2-bucket wash system here, one filled with soap, one with clear water, and you're also going to want some wash mitts. So these are what I like. These are from Chemical Guys. These are amazing. Throw them in the washer after you've washed a vehicle, and you can even dry them. They're ready to go for the next detail. Now, optionally here, it depends if you're washing your truck in early February like we are here, or if it's mid-summer, you're going to want some sort of bug remover. So this down here is 3D bug remover, very dilutable. I think you use 4 or 5 to 1 on this. So 4 to 5 parts water, 1 part bug remover in a 16-ounce bottle. Now, before you foam down the truck here, what I'd recommend, spray it on there, foam the truck down, let it sit, rinse it off, and then start your hand wash. Now again, for the soap, we're using the same soap. So we're using the Meguiar Shampoo Plus over here. Same dilution ratio. You can put a couple ounces in your foam cannon, fill the rest with water, foam it on the truck, you're good to go there. The other couple of things, it's basically just a normal wash. So what I'm gonna do after everything else has been kind of cleaned up here, I'm gonna foam the truck down, I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna let the soaps, all the surfactants in there, break down all of that dirt and grime on the stainless steel, on the glass, on everything else on the truck. I'll go through, pressure wash it, I'll refoam it, and then we'll start our contact wash. So I'll give you a little segment here. I'm not going to show you how to wash the entire truck. We'll do it by one panel, but let's get to foaming. So now that we've foamed the truck down with our pH neutral shampoo, again, remember you don't need to use Shampoo Plus. If you have any sort of pH neutral shampoo, good to go on the Tesla Cybertruck. You don't need to think too hard about this. Now, this is the type of microfiber pole I was talking about. You can see this is an extension pole. This is kind of a jerry-rigged one, in all honesty. There's some great ones out there from the Rag company. I've been playing around with this because it's got a large extension pole, which is actually great for the Cybertruck. This is also good for cleaning the top of the vault. Now, this one is not super dirty, so I don't really need to go in there and scrub it. If you do have an extremely dirty vault that you're noticing after you've washed it, there's still dirt remaining there, what I'd recommend, again, the simple green in our container there, go in and agitate all of those slats. You're not going to scratch it, not going to damage it. You're going to be good to go. So this is great for that. Also, while this is essentially pulling all that dirt, road grime, any sort of bugs on the front end there using the bug remover, with the soap on top, you're going to grab your other two buckets. Now, my recommendation, if you're going to be frequently washing your truck or any other vehicle that you may have a 3-bucket solution here. One of them specifically dedicated for wheels. You'll notice that I had that as my red bucket, as in that doesn't go on paint, doesn't even go on stainless steel here. So I have my clear water rinse bucket here filled with only water. And then over here in our green bucket, I have our pH neutral snow foam in there, or our soap in there. I put about 1 to 2 ounces, just very dependent on exactly which soap you're using. So make sure you're checking that out, and our 2 wash mitts. And once we get all of this down, as it starts drying, as you can see up here, we're going to go in and completely rinse the truck. Then we'll refoam it and start our full contact wash. But honestly, very simple process here. A nice benefit to have as well is to have grit guards in the bottom of your actual buckets, because Cybertrucks do get pretty dirty if you're off-roading them. Actually, all of those little pebbles and things like that will actually scratch the stainless steel. Surprising, but it actually will scratch the finish on there. So make sure you're doing a proper 2-bucket wash. After I get this rinsed down and refoamed, I'm going to show you how that looks. So in the time being, going to rinse it, refoam it, and we'll meet you back at this stage to actually wash the truck. Okay, so now we've done our first rinse here and we're ready to refoam. I do want to make a few quick more points here. These are very important. Please make sure you're not doing this out in the sunshine. It will very much help the look of your truck if you're not trying to battle all this. Now, if you absolutely do have to, make sure it's not super hot. One of the things with the stainless steel here is it really absorbs both cold weather and really hot weather. So in the summertime when it's, 70, 80 degrees outside, this thing's baking in the sun. It is really hot on there. So don't try and throw soap on it. You can kind of shock it, and you can also cause some more staining. And this is really down to when you're maintaining the truck after you've gone through basically what we're doing on this entire video. Again, we'll talk more about what you're going to do to maintain your truck after you've coated it. But next couple of steps here are to basically foam the truck down again. Now, the benefit here in using pH neutral soap, this is a big truck. Likely the soap is going to start to dry on one side when you're going around it, unless you're extremely quick. So if it does get a little bit of, water spotting and things like that, it's going to rinse off because you have that pH neutral soap on there. Because 9 times out of 10, all of our water that we're pulling out of, even here at the shop, let alone at home, is not completely mineral free. So you don't want to leave a bunch of minerals on there, and doing that in the shade with a cool truck really, really helps with that. So what I'm going to do here, instead of foaming down the whole truck, I'm just going to do a panel. I'm going to show you step by step of how you go through and do a quick 2-bucket wash on it. Ideally, what you do is, again, foam the entire truck, go panel by panel, but I'm going to show you basically 2 panels here. And then I'm also going to bring you to the other side because there's some pretty serious staining going on there. And I'm going to show you why the BarKeepers Friend is really going to help after the fact with some staining that's not going to come off during the wash. Okay, so we've got our buckets below me here. We've got our foam down Cybertruck. Again, only doing this in a small little section so that I can show you guys on camera how to do this. So straight from our soap, which is basically starting on our first one, we're going to clean the top up here. We have some piano black plastic up here you want to be very mindful of. That's why I did it first. And we're going to work our way top to bottom down the panel. Now, ideally, of course, you would probably do the top glass. With Cybertruck, you can kind of leave that to last. That's what I traditionally do. And then you're just gonna work in straight lines down the panel. Now, since we've already cleaned all of the lower bits, we don't need to worry about those at this time. So let's say I've done one panel, I've used the other side here. What I'm gonna do is basically go back into our water here. I'm gonna use our grit guard on the bottom, make sure we get all those little rocks, all those little pebbles. I'm gonna squeeze that out here, go back into our soap, and now we have a fresh, clean microfiber ready to come back in and clean our next section. Now, with Cybertruck, I will be honest, it's not the absolute necessary to do a 2-bucket wash, but if you're gonna do it, why not do it right? You can get away with doing a 1-bucket wash, but you really don't wanna scratch the surface on the Cybertruck, because you actually do have to do quite a bit of work to get scratches out. You have to go through a 6-stage sanding process. So if your truck is completely filthy, you can absolutely need to do a 2-bucket wash. If it's like lightly dirty, it just needs a quick bath, okay, you could probably get away with it. But yeah, again, let's just do it right. So boom, those 2 panels are done. Again, going into water. Now I would, if I was moving to this panel, go back into my soap, hit that panel, move around the truck. So now at this time, we are completely ready to rinse this all down, and then we would get into drying. So give me a few minutes here to get the rest of the truck done. So we've now washed the entire truck, we've done our final rinse, and now it's time to dry it. Now, again, please remember, this Cybertruck is completely naked. You're gonna follow this process as we do the BarKeepers Friend on this, the Windex on this, get it prepped for ceramic coating. Once you get these trucks coated, they're going to be so much easier to get bugs off, not have all of the rust marks, not have as many fingerprints that come off easy. Again, we're gonna go through all of that at the end, but I just wanted to tell you that. So now we are into our drying process, and this will go for the same now as it would for a ceramic coated Cybertruck. So we're gonna grab our waterless wash here. This is from Adams Polishes, and this is a great drying aid. Now, the whole point of a drying aid is to help absorb and pick up the water into a high quality microfiber towel. And speaking of a high quality microfiber towel, I use strictly the Rag Company towels here. There's some other great companies out there like Auto Fiber and things like that. For me, the Rag Company is awesome. And as in terms of drying towels, you can use honestly really any of them from the Rag Company. I do like these smaller ones, especially with Cybertruck for getting up into tighter areas. I really like their liquidators. I've made a huge video talking about every single drying towel and every single towel I use here, but any sort of drying towel from the Rag Company is awesome. So what we're gonna do here is basically spray down our panel with a few mists of this, and we're just going to gently pick up the water. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is quite a bit of staining all over it. And again, that's the whole rationale and reason that this truck is in for BarKeepers Friend Windex solution. So all we're trying to do now, just pick up all the water on the truck, and you don't need to go too crazy with this, but if you are doing this outside, please make sure you're not doing this in the sun. You're definitely going to get some water spots on here and then have to deal with that later on. So as long as you maintain it, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So always recommend washing, you know, when it's cool out in the dry sun. But yeah, you can really see the staining here. Holy smokes. And that's going to be the interesting thing with this particular Cybertruck. It is technically brand new, but it is a foundation series of which I believe to have sat for quite a long time. And I believe this customer picked it up on inventory. So lots of environmental fallout on this, lots of contamination in the stainless steel as well that washing won't take out. So if this is the case of your Cybertruck, you're definitely going to want to watch the rest of this video on how to get all of that nasty stuff off. So over here on the driver's side of the Cybertruck, I want to dry this off for you guys. And I really hope you guys can see, first off, all the streaking, all the staining in there, and then all these little polka dots. What those actually are is not rust. They are a type of rust, I guess you could say. Normally this is environmental fallout, and normally these are iron particulates. Now you can go in and use iron, you know, like the wheel cleaner we were talking about earlier from PNS called Iron Buster is definitely safe to use here on the stainless steel. But if you're going to do the BarKeepers Friend, there is really no need to do that. So I hope you guys can see what a Cybertruck actually looks like with nothing on it here. It is very streaked, very stained, even from all that cleaning and washing we did. And that's why I've developed this process of BarKeepers Friend Windex, and then really importantly, wanting a ceramic coating. I mean, you can even see these fingerprints in here that I just put in there. As I wipe that away, they're still there. So that's the annoying thing with the stainless steel, and that's why I've really put so much effort into cleaning the Cybertruck and figuring out what works best. So I'm gonna get the rest of the truck dried here, and then I'll show you this. I'm gonna show you the whole BarKeepers situation, how that all works. It's really cool how much better the trucks look, and pretty surprising that this is actually one of the worst ones I've seen here in the shop. So guys, now we jump into the fun part, and that is dialing in the stainless steel. This, in my opinion, is a critical stage, no matter if your truck is a year old, 6 months old, a month old, or brand spanking new, like this truck behind us. This stainless steel really has a lot of tarnish that it gains, even just from being delivered from the actual factory to the service center, then to you. You get a lot of rail dust, you get a lot of tarnish on the stainless steel. And before putting a ceramic coating on, you want to make sure the stainless steel is looking as good as possible. As you guys will see here, I'll take you around the truck a little bit and show you all the leftover staining here. I'm going to show you how to remove that. And that is, of course, the BarKeepers Friend and glass cleaner or Windex solution that I've figured out within the last year of working on the Cybertruck. Now, this method has been extremely controversial. I will just flat out tell you, if you don't want to use this method, if you don't believe what I'm saying, you don't have to do it. But I have had the trucks and I've worked on many of these things, and my trucks that I work on look better than any of them I've ever seen out in the wild. Ever. Like, bar none, I've been around a ton of these trucks. So if you don't want to use this method, please feel free to skip off the video now. This is a tried and true method. You are not harming the stainless steel of the Cybertruck. You are actually making it look better. You're actually properly cleaning it, and this is the way to do it. So there are two main ways to use the BarKeepers Friend Soft Cleanser. We are not using the more or the sprayable BarKeepers Friend. This is the liquid one. You are also not using the powder. The great thing about this BarKeepers Friend is it is an acid, so it eats away all of that tarnish, and it has an abrasive in it. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, you're gonna make your Cybertruck shiny, it's gonna look all splotchy. This, I'm telling you, will make your Cybertruck look amazing. The nice thing about this is, with that acid and with the abrasives that are actually quite large in this, it really just makes the finish look absolutely perfect. You're not polishing it to a mirror shine. I don't think you can get crazy enough to actually polish this. It's gonna look very even, very smooth, even if you're having to overwork certain areas, like I'll show you on the side here. Now again, two main ways to do this. You can 100% do this by hand with something like this, a microfiber terry type cloth here that you can go in and do it in circular motions. You can even go a little bit up and down. I would recommend you use this in a circular pattern. Do not use Scrub Daddies, do not use Brillo pads. Use a clean microfiber pad on this, and I'll show you how to use this. The other way to do it, if you have a DA polisher around, or if you want to purchase one for this project, you can definitely do so, and that's using something like this. There are many different versions of this. You don't need a $700 polisher like this Rupes one is here. You can pick up a cheap $50, $60, $70 one off Amazon, Harbor Freight. They all relatively work the same, different throw sizes, things here and there. That's not what we're talking about. So I would definitely tell you, if you want to do this and do it right and get the best effective results in the shortest amount of time, pick yourself up a polisher. We also need some pads here for our polisher. My favorites are these Rupes yellow foam fine finishing pads. You can get them in many different sizes. I'm actually going to be using a 6-inch machine here today and a smaller 3-inch machine as well. If you have other pads or pads that you prefer, these are Adams Polishes polishing pads. You don't want anything that is aggressive. You don't want a cutting pad. You don't want a one-step pad. You want a polishing pad. We're not trying to make this surface shiny. We're trying to remove tarnish, remove staining, remove all of those embedded contaminants there, and leave it as is. Now, after we do this method, once we're putting on the BarKeepers Friend, letting it sit, to remove it, I like to use a glass cleaner. And the one that I personally like to use is Windex. And yes, the ammoniated one. Now, a lot of people have freaked out about ammonia on stainless steel and it tarnishing it and making it look bad. I have done this countless times on Cybertruck. The little amount of ammonia, the very small amount of ammonia in Windex will not harm your Cybertruck. A lot of people use this, and this is spray away foaming glass cleaner. If you want to use this instead of Windex, that's totally fine. I'll do a little comparison here of why I actually like using the Windex better. This absolutely still works. So if you're one of those folks who's tried my method here and are struggling with it streaking and things like that, you can definitely try this and see if it gives you better results. My preference though is Windex with ammonia. So let me walk you around the truck quickly here. I want to show you the staining, show you what it looks like, show you a full demonstration, and then we can of course get on to the BarKeepers Friend Windex solution, and then finally get this thing ceramic coated, get it protected so we don't have to do this all the time. Now, before we get started with this, I want to insert this clip so you guys can see up close and really figure out what the Cybertruck stainless steel looks like, and probably if you own one of these, this is what your truck currently looks like. Again, I have worked on many different trucks that are brand new, trucks that are a little older, have some wear and tear on them, and a lot of them have the same issues here. So if you come in here, you can see all of these little iron deposits in here, again from industrial fallout. And you'll also notice that the stainless steel has this kind of warmth tone to it. So you can see that it's very splotchy throughout, it's not even, it's not cohesive. We even have some mineral deposits and things like that over here. It is just kind of covered all over this truck. And pretty much every single truck I've seen, again, even from brand new, has these same issues throughout. So as you look here, you can see all these little spots. These do not go away with isopropyl alcohol, glass cleaner, detail sprays, anything. Now, you can use some sort of iron deposit removers, something like Carpro Iron X, P&S Iron Buster, stuff like that. It will break it down, but a lot of the time these are really embedded in there. So again, you got to go through with the BarKeepers Friend Windex to actually get this stuff out. As I come down here, you can see the entire side of it is completely littered in these things. And those are little iron deposits. This also I've been seeing is quite a big issue actually. With mag chloride and some other very harsh chemicals we put on our roads. Look at all the staining in there. So this would essentially be permanent if you were just using sprays or anything else. This is not just going to magically come out. And I think you'll be surprised to see how much better this looks basically throughout the entire thing. Compared to how it does now using BarKeepers Friend, Windex, and all of that fun stuff. Yeah, you can just see it all over the truck. And just the more and more you look at it, you can see how uneven the panels look, how kind of orange they look as well. You'll see a big difference once I do the BarKeepers Friend, how much brighter of a stainless steel this comes out. Looks very even, looks very smooth, very cohesive. On the back here, you can see lots of different staining throughout. Stuff like that doesn't just wipe away. This is really kind of the annoying thing with this stainless steel. You kind of have to know what you're doing with it, to be honest. So this is why I have basically taken so much time to really truly figure this out. Now the weird thing is this side looks a lot better from the driver's side. Now you'll still see in here all sorts of little spots. This thing is riddled with iron deposits. Here's a great one here. You can see it's kind of dripping off of the surface there. You can see it's bright orange. Yeah, it's just everywhere. So first off here, I'm going to show you how to do this by hand. So again, we're going to grab our clean microfiber disc like this. I also like if you can find the package like this that has a little handle, gives you a little bit more pressure, keeps your hands a little bit cleaner. Also, big recommendation, anytime you're working with the stainless steel here, wear gloves. It's gonna make your life a whole heck of a lot easier. Then over here, we have our BarKeepers Friend soft cleanser, and we also have some microfiber towels. Now, personally, for the Cybertruck, there are no better towels than Costco yellow microfibers. They work unbelievably well. You're gonna see a lot of tarnish come off of these, so these are gonna turn black, and you don't wanna reuse these anywhere else, so you basically throw them away. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna show you about how much you would do if you're gonna do this by hand. I'm gonna crack open the BarKeepers Friend here, and I'm gonna pour quite a bit on here. Set that down behind me, and just about like that. Now you can work it in a little bit, and that's about where you wanna go. So what you wanna do here is work in a circular motion when you're doing this by hand. And yeah, this is a ton of work, to say the least, to do it all by hand. But I've done multiple trucks like this. So again, if you don't wanna buy a polisher, you can absolutely do this. I'm gonna get this little spot up here that had a bunch of little staining in it. And what you'll notice throughout this is that it's actually turning a brighter silver. And that right there is all the tarnish coming off. So once you've done enough of the panel, so normally I would probably do the entire hood, if not 50-50 if you want to see it. But in this case, I'm just going to show you in a little bit smaller area. You're going to take your Windex here, spray it on liberally. I think this is where people struggle and get a lot of streaks with this method. You're gonna wipe it off and leave it. And once this dries away, I hope you can see quite literally exactly where I was there by doing that BarKeepers Friend. So what you'll see here is this streaking. What I want you to do is flip your towel over here to a fresh, clean side, spray a little bit, and then you're gonna wipe quickly and let that dry away. And you should get no streaks at this point. The reason people are getting a lot of streaks with the Windex is because you're essentially moving around the BarKeepers Friend. You're not using enough of it, and you're not using enough towels, or you're not using dry enough towels. So as you can see, streaks completely went away. Now the interesting thing that you feel here is this is very tacky. This is very smooth throughout. You still hear it on your gloves, but the difference is crazy feeling there. And as you can see, look how much more even that looks and how much brighter it looks than basically the outside. And that's really all you do here. So it's really simple. If you want to do this by hand, you don't need to buy a lot of tools. It is just straight elbow grease on this and a lot of patience. So if you're wanting a workout over the weekend, definitely do this by hand. Very simple to do. And you basically just do it all over the truck. Now, one big thing that I recommend doing, any areas like this that are plastic, any of the fenders, tape those off. You do not want the BarKeepers Friend on that plastic. It'll actually turn it a little bit white and can almost be permanently damaged if you leave it. So make sure you're taping things up when you're doing it. But I hope you guys can see how much nicer that looks, how much more even and cohesive. Just looks so darn good. So I just want to bring you guys a little bit closer, give you another point of view of what the before and after looks like. So you can see very orange, very tea stained over there, very uneven. And then you come to this stainless steel here, it looks perfectly smooth. Now the keen eye may notice all these little kind of what they look like scratches in here. The stainless steel on the Cybertruck is very different from normal stainless steel in that it has a DA pattern. So hence why I like to work in a circular motion. Normally with stainless steel, if the grain is going, from this side to the other side or up and down, you would always work in that one direction. With this, it's very random and it changes throughout all the panels. So again, that's before, same over here. These are all DA sanding marks. And that's why we use a DA polisher and work in circular motions. So let me show you next on how to do this by machine. Very simple, very straightforward process and very quick, especially compared to doing it by hand. So next we're gonna do this completely by machine and then actually finish it by hand. And I'll explain a little bit why. So over here, I'm gonna grab my soft cleanser. I'm gonna pour some on the pad over here. And then I'm gonna work this in just a little bit. And the reason I do this is so it doesn't basically flail everywhere. Now, I'm actually using a different machine than I normally do on this. This is the Rupes Duetto. Just means it has a little bit smaller throw, has a little bit smaller pad than I would normally use. And I'm gonna start this on speed number 3. You don't need to use a crazy amount of speed, but you also wanna make sure you're doing enough work here. So what you'll notice here, I'm gonna go directly over this section again. It's not gonna make it shinier. It's just going to look exactly like this, no matter how much you sit there and scrub the living heck out of this. That's the beauty of this process. Now, as you guys can see there, we pulled a ton of tarnish off, a bright yellow pad that's now turning that color. Now, one thing I like to do here, and this is something that I've started doing a lot more often, especially with trucks with a lot more of, all of those embedded contaminants, is just to do one quick motion by hand, kind of get it spread out. As you can see, it even brightens up even more there, and just check my work. So I've got an area here that's a little bit more aggressive. You just go in there, quickly rub that down. And what I've noticed is by doing it by machine polish, some of these little areas, those little specks, you can actually miss, and when you go to wipe them off, you're like, what the heck, I missed that. This is a way I can go back in, I can just check my work here very carefully and make sure that I got all of that off. Again, if you're doing this, you want to make sure you've got everything off. You don't want to go back and forth and, I forgot this spot, and get it coated and then have to come back and do that. Now, I want to try the spray away glass cleaner here, just to show you what this does. You'll notice it's foaming, so it's a lot different, and that's just my one big negative with it. It still cleans this up very well, and you'll notice still pulling a lot of that tarnish off. For me, I've still seen this, it will still streak a little bit, as I'm already seeing right here. So that's why I don't really see a huge benefit with using this. For me, this is actually messier to use. And then you get areas like this. This is going everywhere and it's still streaking. So again, here I'd probably spray a little bit, flip my towel over. And then once you notice your towel is just getting too saturated with this, get a new towel. These are cheap towels from Costco, but man, look at that now. Looks awesome. So if you are one of those folks, again, that doesn't want to use Windex with ammonia, totally cool. This stuff to me does nothing better. It just makes my job a little bit harder. And what I've noticed when you start using a lot of this, you'll see these little streaks that you have to go back and forth for. I mean, for the first couple of times you do it until you kind of get a saturated towel, it's pretty darn good. And when you're working on bigger surfaces, but either one you want to use. If you want to use Windex, spray away, either is totally good. So that's how to do it here on the hood. I want to bring you in a little bit closer, do some of those trickier other sides over there with lots of contamination, show you before and after, show you a whole panel done, and yeah, big difference here. So what I've done here is, again, this is the really nasty side, all this contamination in the stainless steel, and I'm going to show you how I would work a big panel. So normally what I would do is probably split this bigger area kind of into 4 sections. You don't want to just try and apply it and do this entire thing at once. You really need that product to do the work for you. So I'm just going to show you real time about how this goes. So I'm going to put 2 little dots on there. As this gets more and more encapsulated with all of the tarnish coming off, you use less and less product. But keep your area small and just start to work it in like this, again, so you're not slinging the product everywhere, and just go to town. So just so you know, the only reason I have tape here is I want to just show you this door completely done so we can get a really nice before and after. So I'm just going to continue doing this. Once I get this entire section done, I'm going to come back and do it by hand. I can still see a few small little areas that the polisher missed. Not a problem there. Again, doing it by hand just gets that last like 5 to 10% there and really makes it pop. So I'm going to continue on here. And this thing will be looking great in no time. So guys, that entire door took me maybe 2 minutes to do. Now down here would take me, I don't know, 30 seconds more up here and here. But honestly, this goes very quick once you kind of get a feel for it. Now, look at the amount of tarnish that has come off this. That is what we are removing off the Cybertruck, and it is just insane how big of a difference this makes. Also, a big tip here, on your door edges like this, once your pad gets very built up, it's gonna hold a lot of that BarKeepers Friend residue. So make sure you're going through and cleaning the backside of all of these. And again, please make sure you are taping up all of your plastics. I don't know how many times I need to say that, but please make sure you're doing the plastics. So I'm gonna come back here again, put a little bit more of the BarKeepers on my self applicator here. And I'm just going to check my work. This is very much a different way to check your work when you're doing it. You can really see through this layer, as you can probably tell how bright that is compared to the rest of it, where it's looking kind of blue. This very much helped. So just spend a few minutes here. Again, you're not trying to polish the whole thing here by hand. You're just trying to make sure you've got everything totally dialed before you move on to the next panel there. So after we've let this sit, of course, next we're gonna go in with our glass cleaner. So liberal amount of glass cleaner here. I am just trying to pick up all the residue that's on there from the BarKeepers Friend. We're gonna go in and wipe. You can wipe in circular motions, you can go side to side, up and down, whatever you think is best. And you can see how much of that grime we got off there. So once this kind of dries out, I'll hit again. We're gonna quickly wipe it. The best technique here is not to do this and then try and use your towel to dry it. For whatever reason with the Windex here, it actually makes it streak worse. So my recommendation is just continually flip your towel. You will 100% know when it is way too saturated here. So I'm going to let this dry off here and I'll show you the end results, show you a 50-50. This looks a world of difference here and looks incredible. All right, guys, well, here's our before and after. So you can see the driver's door right here looking pretty disgusting. Then you come over here, perfectly smooth, perfectly even. And also look at that color difference. See how much more even that back door looks just in that section we did. Of course, we didn't do up top or down below. As you can still see, we have a bunch of those deposits, contaminants in there. But even look at that rear sail compared. This just looks so perfectly smooth, even, has this nice brighter silver sheen to it. But you can tell we didn't make it shiny. It's exactly the same. It's just perfectly clean now. And you can even come in here and look at this. It looks incredible. That doesn't. That looks incredible. So I'm now going to continue to do the entire truck with this same exact solution that I've been doing here and get all of this nasty looking stuff off of this truck. I'll update you once I'm done with this, but I think this is a perfect 50-50 here, and glad I could get this on camera for you guys. It just looks so awesome when this truck is done. So still, of course, you want to make sure you do the entire stainless steel. You don't want to do this panel by panel, otherwise you're going to have panels not match. This is really a treatment that once you start on one, you kind of have to do the whole thing. So we want to get this done before we start coating any panels. Do all of this first, get it wiped down, get it streak free, and then once we're done with the whole truck, I'll show you how to get it prepped and ready for ceramic coating. And just after a couple hours of work here, the Cybertruck is looking fantastic. Check out how nice the stainless steel looks now. Very even, very cohesive throughout. Doesn't have any of that nasty staining, of course, that you remember over here on the driver's side. It just looks completely even. By the way, if you do have a Foundation Series Cybertruck, you can go right over that Foundation Series. Not an issue. You're not going to damage it with the BarKeepers Friend and Windex. But dang, this thing is looking awesome now. So it probably took me about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours maybe total to do the entire stainless steel. And then I did another wipe down after the fact with Windex, just making sure we got everything. I did notice a few spots I missed back here, just wiping it off with Windex. That little area there, not a big deal. So next we need to talk about the ceramic coating, and this is going to be pretty awesome. One of the issues with the Cybertruck is, you know, a lot of coatings out there don't work on every single material. So typically when I do a vehicle, you have to do, you know, the stainless steel or the paint with a different coating that you use on the trim, that you use on the metal slats up there, that you use on the wheels and the glass. I have a coating that works on all of this, so it actually makes your life a lot easier, and it's a lot more DIY friendly to do it just like this. So let's jump into the coating. Let's talk a little bit about it. We still have one more prep stage to make sure nothing is on the stainless steel, to make sure we get maximum adhesion with the ceramic coating. And yeah, this thing's gonna look incredible. So guys, we are now at the protection stage. So we've done all the cleaning. We've cleaned up the wheels, the tires, the suspension, all of the plastic trim, bumpers, vault, the windows, and of course we've gone through and deep cleaned the stainless steel, and now it's time to protect it with a ceramic coating. Now, as I quickly talked about right before this clip here, this coating that we're going to be using today is a little bit different from a lot of products out there on the market. So one thing that I've really struggled with, even as a professional detailer here on the Cybertruck, is normally we're using a plastic coating that's going to go on the fenders, on the mirrors, on all the bumpers. And the issue with that is you can coat all of the stainless steel, and you don't want that coating getting on the plastic, and you don't want that plastic coating actually getting on the stainless steel. And really, if you do get some of those plastic coatings or glass coatings on the stainless steel, it will actually discolor it and it makes it look very funky. It's been an annoyance for me. So finally, I found a coating that works on everything, which is really cool. So Clean by Pan the Organizer's 8-year ceramic coating here works on paint, it works on vinyl, it works on PPF, it works on matte finish surfaces such as paint, vinyl, or even PPF as well. It works on glass, it works on trim, on wheels, and of course, stainless steel. So this to me has really kind of opened up how much easier this can be for a lot of DIY enthusiasts, because you can be slightly more sloppy with it, if you know what I mean. A lot of the angles here on the Cybertruck, especially that quarter glass, if you're trying to coat that all with glass coating, maybe you're putting tape down on the stainless steel. If you've just coated it, then it's not sticking there and you're still going to get some of that glass coating now on top of the other coatings that we've used. It just becomes a mess. So this really solved a lot of issues, and not only solved a lot of issues, but it's the best coating for the Cybertruck stainless steel. So before we jump into actually coating it here, we have one more important step. Now, I've done this process before. I've seen comments on this and they're like, why would you need to use a panel prep spray? We've wiped everything down with the Windex. We've got all the BarKeepers off. This is really our insurance policy. You just spent all this time cleaning up your Cybertruck. You want to ensure that that coating is going to have the best chance to bond to every single surface on it. So you need to grab something like a panel prep spray. Now, any sort of ceramic coating I'm doing, whether it's from Geon, whether it's from Adams, DIY Detail, whatever it is, I'm going to use their panel prep spray because they're really meant to work in conjunction with the actual coating you're using. Now, you can use isopropyl alcohol if you don't want to spend money for this, but honestly, if you're gonna do this, do it right. And I think that's a lot of the things that I talk about in this video. Please make sure that you're just using the right products. You don't need every single tool. Like we talked about, you don't need buffers, you don't need every single wheel brush known to man out there, but you can get by with the basics. But this to me is one of the more important steps. You can do all the work we just did, skip this step, apply a ceramic coating, and you could have a failed coating because there was still residue and oils on here. So this is something we do on the plastic trim, on the glass, on the stainless steel, everything on the exterior that we are protecting with said ceramic coating. You wanna make sure there's nothing left over. So this is our last step. So I'm gonna run through, show you how to do this. And then over here, we have our coating. Now, with this, it comes with a 30 ml bottle. Now, I will tell you, a lot of you are gonna look at this tiny bottle and go, there's no way this can coat the entire Cybertruck, and it can. In fact, you can get all of the glass with it, you can get all of the trim with it, all of the stainless steel, everything. Now, inside the box here, it does come with a coating applicator, and this is an applicator I really don't like. For me, it's too big. I like to have a little bit more control. So what I recommend instead is getting an auto fiber ceramic coating saver. Now, the cool thing with that applicator in here, as well as with pans that comes in the box, is there's actually like a hydrophobic barrier in here. You can see this has some foam in it, and what that barrier actually does is not allow your coating to get soaked into that foam there, saving you a lot more product. You don't want to spend, $150 on a bottle here and go in there and basically have it soak up all of your coating. So let's quickly run through the process of what you do with the prep stage, then we'll get into the coating stage. And again, the nice thing is, while you're coating the stainless steel here, you can go right over the trim. If you get some on the trim, not a big deal. You can go and do it after the fact. So I'm going to show you this whole process. It's going to be awesome. So this is your one last opportunity here to make sure you are happy with the finish of the stainless steel. I would really recommend you walk through the truck and make sure you don't have any spots that aren't even and aren't cohesive. A lot of the times, if you're not getting the BarKeepers Friend Windex solution done quite enough in certain areas, you'll see this kind of dark staining. And if you're seeing that, make sure you get this done before you start coating. You don't want to coat over it and then realize you missed an entire spot up here. Then you have to come back, fix this, basically strip the entire hood. The way you do that, if you did mess up at some point, is again, go back to the BarKeepers Friend Windex and then back to the panel prep spray. So this is a very straightforward process here. We have two of our very cheapo Costco microfiber towels, which are amazing for Cybertruck. Again, these are the towels I use on these because you're just getting so much residue off the truck, number one, and you're probably going to destroy these towels, and I don't like to reuse them on painted surfaces or anything like that. So our panel prep spray here, we're going to spray it on our towel. We're going to give some mist here on the stainless steel, and we're going to wipe this down. Now, the awesome thing about this product versus something like isopropyl alcohol is you're not going to get any streaking, and with IPA you can get streaking on it. So I also have another dry towel over here just to pick up any of that moisture, just to ensure we're not getting any sort of that streaking. So my recommendation with this process, do the entire truck at once. Don't do this panel by panel. And what I mean by that is don't wipe down the hood here with this and then coat this, wipe this down, and then coat that. Wipe down the entirety of the truck firsthand instead of waiting. Now, one thing I'm going to mention to you guys just from my experience with Cybertruck, certain edges are not perfectly filed down. They're extremely sharp. I have cut my hands on this truck 4 or 5 times. This hand is really hurting today, but this entire edge right here will pick up some of those microfibers. If you have a glove on, you can kind of wipe this down and get some of those off. Very frustrating, very annoying. Of course, like I said before, make sure you are using gloves anytime you are touching the stainless steel. At this point, we don't want to introduce any sort of oils into here because that's not going to allow the coating to stick. Now, the great thing with this product too, because we are coating the stainless steel, the trim, the glass all at once, is this is your spray to do so. So you can go directly on the glass, directly on the fender here, and wipe this all down. And it makes your job way easier to do this. So do everything beforehand. Before you start coating, Make sure everything is wiped down, prepped, ready to go. Again, the whole intention here is to make sure there is absolutely nothing on the surface of the stainless steel. So I'm going to come back in here, dry this off, and then I'm going to continue working down the truck. Now, what I always recommend doing with this process is do it twice. So meaning you do the whole truck, you come back and you do it again. If you want to use fresh towels, great, that's even better. But I always recommend doing that just in case you missed a few edges. Again, this is such an important stage. I cannot tell you enough times of how important the panel prep stage is. If you just completely skip this, your coating's not going to last on here. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here, walk around the truck, get all the glass, all the plastic, bumpers, stainless steel, and then we're going to get into coating. Okay guys, so now we've done our entire prep stage, and now it's finally time to lay down the ceramic coating on the stainless steel, on the trim, and on the glass. Now, I think a lot of you might be concerned about doing a ceramic coating, especially if you've never done one before. Can they be overwhelming? Yes, but there are quite a few ways to keep yourself out of trouble here. I'll give you some tips and tricks throughout. So one thing I like having is a clean cart to set towels, to set down the bottle. You don't want to be having to maintain these towels, throwing them all over the truck, setting them on a dirty bench, anything like that. Now the towels we're using here, yet again, are the Costco ones. Now, I have done videos with Cybertruck with coating it that I've used more normal traditional coating towels. Realistically, the issue with that for a lot of you DIY enthusiasts is you're gonna have to throw those away afterwards. Once the coating towels are being used, essentially you can't really wash them again. You get all the crystals in here. You don't want to deal with that. So I think most people are going to use these, completely fine to use. Again, Costco microfiber towels are amazing for Cybertruck. So what I would start with first is an easy to do panel. As always, my recommendation is start on the hood. It's the easiest to see, it's right at eye level, and makes your life very easy. Now, a few recommendations throughout this. Start small. Don't try and do the entire truck at once and then be running around trying to wipe everything off. So we'll go through all of this. So we have our applicator over here and our bottle. Now this bottle, you want to make sure you shake up a little bit just in case anything is not fully together. We're going to unscrew the lid on here, set the bottle down. Now, one thing I really dislike about this coating is the way it comes out of the bottle. And as you can see, it doesn't really. So with this coating, kind of have to tap it on here. Now, your first initial one, you kind of want to get this pretty saturated. So what I would say is sit here and drip it on there. Then you're going to pop it over here, put the cap back on. Now, your coating applicator should look something like this. Now, Cybertruck stainless steel naturally uses a little bit more coating than on paint. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to start out with a frame. And what you'll see here is I'm pulling in coating from the top there, which was very thick in there. And I'm just going to work in straight motions. Now, when coating, my recommendation, do the entire panel. I know it sounds overwhelming, but it's going to make your life quite a bit easier. Now, if you're not as proficient in coating vehicles like me, what I'd recommend is doing crosshatch. Go up and down, side to side, making sure you're not missing any areas. Just with my background and how many cars I've coated in my career, I can normally get it the first time. Now, crosshatching can be beneficial. A lot of the times, especially on stuff like this, I don't love doing it. Now you can also do what's called a T pattern here, where you can go like this. You can really hear all of that microfiber getting pulled up by those sharp edges. And what you'll notice I'm doing here is really getting the middle coating and really spreading it out. That's gonna give us a nice even layer. Now I really feel like the border technique is really ideally the best way to go because that top edge is a little bit tricky. So all I can do here, come back through and hit that edge. And now we're gonna wait a little bit. So what this coating is actually gonna do is start to rainbow a little bit. And this is what we talk about with flash time. Now, flash time varies beyond what environment you're in. If it's humid, if it's cold, you don't want to install this when it's super hot, nor do you want to install this when it's super cold. And you don't want to be installing this, of course, when it's raining or windy or anything like that. So what we do here is we're going to wait between 1 to 2 minutes, and that's our wipe off time. Now you'll see some key indicators here when it starts rainbowing a little bit. The stainless steel doesn't do it quite as much as paint because it takes some time to kind of absorb into there and really start flashing on the surface. So once this is ready to go, I'll show you how I recommend wiping it off. So again, do this entire panel, leave it. Don't try and go to another panel yet, especially if this is your first time. Now, when I really get going, what I do is I'll coat this panel, I'll let this be curing, then I'll coat the front fascia, I'll come back, wipe this off, and then I might even move to another section. You'll just get a feel for it. Now, this coating is not something that you have to go, oh, I need to go 20 or 2 minutes right on the dot and wipe it off. You actually have some flexibility here. So don't freak out if you start to get behind a little bit, but one of the biggest piece of advice I can give you, keep it small. Don't go crazy. Don't try and do the entire side of the truck and then be chasing yourself around. So once this starts to flash a little bit more, we'll be ready to wipe this off. What you'll start to notice here is that this is slowly turning color. You can see it's a little bit orange, it's a little bit blue, and it's started to really dry out versus the other side. So first off, we're gonna do a level. Now, a level means that we're trying to just spread the coating out here with our first towel. We're not trying to pick everything up on our first initial wipe. So what I like doing with this is work in just a circular motion here. You want to make sure you really get all of those edges and just work very evenly, very cohesively throughout. So now that I've done that, I'm going to flip this towel over. I'm going to work it in a little bit more, and what you'll notice here is it's really smooth throughout. You don't see any sort of high spots, and a high spot would be, let's say I come to wipe this area and I leave that there on the truck. This would be a high spot there. You absolutely don't want to leave those. What happens is this will harden and it'll discolor, and oftentimes you're gonna have to strip the entire hood to get that off. So please ensure that when you're doing this, you're making sure you're wiping very evenly, very cohesively. So I'm gonna back the camera up here. We're gonna start working on this side as well. You can see a big difference from the passenger side to the driver's side here. And we're gonna wipe this away. Now, once you get your first panel done is when I would recommend you, I guess once you start feeling comfortable with it, is then when you can go in and start doing adjacent areas. And what I mean by that is light bars, the plastics down here, you can do that at once. You can also come back and do it after the fact. So if you're a little unconfident in what's going on here, I'd recommend do the stainless steel, then come back, do the glass, do the trim, whatever it may be. If you don't want to coat the trim, that's totally cool. Highly recommend it though. Next, we're going to grab another fresh towel, and this is our final wipe. So I'm going to come in here. Again, I really like working in circular motions. There's a lot of pro detailers out there that are, straight. I really find, especially here on the stainless steel, you're not going to get any sort of high spots. It's really going to just even out beautifully well. And what you should notice here is that the panel went from a little bit tacky to ultra smooth now. And that means that the coating is doing its job. So of course, this is going to cure up, fully harden, and fully protect this with a little bit of time. So on the fender here, you can see we have glass, we have plastic, we have more plastic, and of course we have our stainless steel. So I'm going to show you how I would do all of them at once. Now I wouldn't move into the door here. What I would do is get all of this panel done, and then of course move to the next door. Again, don't go crazy on this. You just want to make sure you're getting one panel done at a time. And what you're really looking for here, you'll kind of play with how much you apply in terms of the actual coating here. You'll kind of see that you'll get it a little bit more even. If it gets a little streaky, you likely need quite a bit more. So what I'm going to do here, because we have adjacent panels, is I'm going to hit the glass here as well at the same exact time. And then get that all worked in. And this is totally safe to go on this rubber right here as well. It's actually going to make it look extremely nice. And then I'm also going to coat the mirror here. Now, it's completely fine if, say, I get a little spot there and I leave that, because we'll get that when we come back, and it'll still wipe off unbelievably easily and unbelievably nice. So what I'd probably recommend doing here is leaving this section for another segment. You can see I actually over wipe there, not a problem. I'm kind of doing this intentionally so I can show you guys that it's okay to get it on other surfaces. Once you coat that area, it's not going to be a big deal. Next, I'm going to come in here and do the plastic trim. Now, what I wouldn't recommend doing is trying to do all the bumpers. Just work on these quick adjacent panels, like the mirror, for example, the fender here. You don't even have to get the whole side skirt. You can also do that later on. Don't try and do the windshield while you're coating this section. Wait for that at the end. So a good tip here is you're going to start wiping from the first area that you started working on. So of course we worked on the stainless steel here. Now I hope you guys can see, I don't know if you can from the light reflections, what that's doing to the glass. It's rainbowing. So that's actually ready to come off, but it's not ready to come off the stainless steel. I'm gonna leave that on there because it's totally fine. It'll come off, not a problem. And like I said, you really have 4 to 5 minutes of workability. Now, one question I know a lot of people are gonna have is, okay, so what if I've already coated the hood here like we have, and I get some coating on top there? Not a problem. Go back and wipe it off. It's not going to affect it whatsoever. Not at all. So completely, totally cool with that. And again, this stuff here, even if I let this kind of dry up, when I move to this section, go to get this is all going to blend in perfectly well. You're never going to notice that you made a mistake there. It's just going to look even. Okay, so it's looking like this is all ready to come off. We're just going to start wiping this. One thing you'll notice here is I'm going to get it on this adjacent edge over here, and that's, again, not a problem. That's the great thing with this coating, is it's so workable that you kind of have a lot of flexibility in terms of time. So you can see, like, I even wiped up here. When I come to coat this, and even if I get it onto this that's already coated, not a big deal whatsoever. So I'm just going to continue to do this. Again, I'm going to leave the trim total last. And I'm going to start wiping our glass coating off the glass here. You'll see it looks very streaky. And again, all you're doing right now is leveling it. You don't need to panic. You don't need to run super quickly around this and, oh my gosh, I missed a spot here and there. Just be patient with this. And that's a great thing. Again, very workable coating here. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to try and get more into those edges there. One great tip and trick here is make sure you have your coating towels in a quartered section. So don't try and do this type of stuff. I see so many people detail cars like this. This causes streaks absolutely everywhere, and it doesn't give you good wipeability. So I like to take these, fold them into quarters. Then you have basically 8 clean sides on a towel, and you can flip and reuse as necessary. So you can even see I'm getting some in here, not a problem whatsoever. This little edge in here is crazy hard to get to because you can barely get a finger, let alone a towel in there. You can see this, I didn't even level all of this completely down here, and it's totally cool. So now I'm going to focus a little bit more on this mirror. Make sure I'm getting all underneath there, not leaving any high spots. And I'm just going to leave this on here so you guys can see what it does, because you wipe that away, you can see it darken that. But again, when I go to coat right over that, it's going to be totally fine. So just make sure you have all of this wiped off. You're ensuring that you're not getting any high spots. I'm going to switch to my other towel. I'm going to start here on the glass. And you can really see your towel, your first towel gets really loaded up. Your second towel is kind of your really good finishing wipe down. Now, what I'll tell you guys, if you get to the point where you're feeling like, oh my gosh, it's not coming off, I'm continually wiping, then it's time to either flip your towels over or grab new towels. Now here, as you can see, I've wiped off everything else except for the trim here. We're just going to work this down. And yes, you can coat the cameras, by the way. Should have mentioned that before. So one great piece of advice here as well, check these other adjacent areas. So make sure you're coming over here, getting different lighting angles. I can see I got a little bit of coating on this edge, and you can still come back and wipe that off. The thing you don't want to do is get all the way down around the car, come back to here and go, oh no, I've got some pieces that I didn't wipe off. Can harden at that time. That's how you get high spots. So what I always say is make sure you're over wiping into the adjacent panel as well. So friends, that is how you coat the Cybertruck. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to get all of the plastic cladding around here done. I'm going to probably leave these side pieces of glass until after the fact, so I'll do these after. But because this one was so adjacent here, I had to kind of do that one. So I'll just work around the truck, you know, getting this top area, getting these fenders back here, and then I'll come back around and do areas like that lower side sill, all the front and rear bumpers, all the areas like that. And I'll be sure to show you all that as well. All right, folks, so we have finished up the rest of the stainless steel. Now it's time to focus on the other areas like the front bumper. And up here we have some more intricate areas. So first off, we of course have our headlights, which you can absolutely coat. This will help during rain, during poor visibility in snow as well, to keep some of those snowflakes and all of that fun stuff from icing up on the headlights. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but it will definitely help. So while you're down here, I'd recommend coating that. Of course, here we have the bumper to coat as well. And then you get into very intricate grills and things like this. Now, of course, all of this is optional. This is not something you always have to do, but these are always areas I like to protect. This plastic turns very dull, very faded over time. So what we're going to be using here is, of course, same applicator we used on the stainless steel. If it's clean, still good to go, you can absolutely continue to use that. And we're also going to use a swab. This will be able to get into all these little nooks and crannies. So essentially what I would do here is do basically the entire bumper, including the lights, all of that, spend some time going through all these little intricate areas as well, and then wipe it off. And it can be, you know, up to 5 minutes. So you have a lot of workability time here. So let's crack open our applicator. We'll put a little bit more on there, and definitely trim soaks up the coating quite a bit. By the way, for those of you interested, we still have over half a bottle left over from doing all of the stainless steel, 2 panes of glass, and all of the fender flares. So we do still have quite a bit more product to use. So I'd even get the little side repeaters over here, work all of this in. Now this will be very easy to tell here on this little light bar of where or when, I guess, your coating is ready to come off. Same thing here, we're just going to work this product in. Again, this soaks it up quite a bit. So just when you start to see it getting a little thin is when I would start actually applying a little bit more. Now the thing here that I found on trim is actually working in a circular motion, really works well. Helps very much disperse all of the product. Now what I'll also do is get on the ground here, get the whole under area, but you can kind of work in whatever way you want, whatever you see fit here. So I'm just going to continue doing this. We'll get it wiped off. This trim is going to be fully protected. It's got a lot of UV inhibitors in this coating, so it's not going to turn gray. It's not going to stain, of course, quite as easily as the uncoated trim would. Now, of course, this will help with staining, but if you leave it to be pretty nasty, of course, you can still stain this over time. So I'm going to continue on here. I'm going to get all the rest of the trim coated, get it wiped off, and then we'll continue on to the rest of the glass. And basically, the exterior is pretty close to done at this point. So one of the last areas I want to show you guys how to coat here is the glass. This is going to be the same for the windshield, the top roof, pretty much everything. I'd probably recommend grabbing a new applicator at this point if you've done all the stainless steel and all of the trim. Just make your life a little bit easier, unless of course you've already coated your glass. So we're just going to go on here and coat the glass. It's pretty straightforward. If you've done the stainless steel, you'll have a great idea on how to do the glass. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Totally okay to do it on this as well as the B-pillar. The B-pillar actually already has some sort of hydrophobic protection on it, so you'll actually see it kind of bead off of here, which is kind of interesting. So Tesla has been doing that, assuming to keep the cameras clean. Actually, this side is not doing it, which is weird because the driver's side that I just did do that. So pretty strange. Anyways, you're just gonna work this in, and what you'll notice here is this is normally how this coating works, where it flashes off real quick, so it turns very quickly into a rainbow. Now realistically, you still want to wait a little bit with it, so I'd probably wait around 2 minutes. Now this is just for exterior glass, so you're not going to do this on the interior. I'm going to show you how to get all of the off-gassing off the glass, including how to clean that very, very fun front windshield here. But I'm going to let this sit for a few seconds here. We'll come back, get this wiped off. So we've waited our time here, and now we can start wiping. Of course, yet again, using a fresh Costco towel. Now what you're gonna see on here actually is this is going to be a little bit harder to remove on glass, especially when you start working on the windshield. It's gonna wanna streak a little bit. And the only piece of advice I can give you here is keep wiping. And if you need to grab multiple towels to do this, definitely do so. And it very much kind of spreads out, especially into those top areas down here. If you miss those, again, you're gonna leave some high spots there, not what you wanna deal with. Now, one thing I have done here that I didn't talk about, I did take the window trims out. They're pretty simple to remove. You basically just start them from one side and pull them out. So pretty straightforward. Also very helpful to roll the window down. Actually, that I accidentally pressed this to get this top edge. You'll see a little bit of residue there, and just continue to wipe. And one piece of advice here as well is to have a headlamp or some sort of flashlight to be able to see any sort of streaks on here. Can still see quite a bit more here, but I'll continue over on this side, on the passenger side front window. And you really don't want to be using, you know, kind of short nap glass towels like we would traditionally use for these. Number one, you're going to throw them away. Number two, they're not going to pick up the coating as much. So you do want a little higher GSM on these, meaning that they're a little bit more plush, a little bit thicker. And funny enough, these Costco towels are actually perfect for it. So I'm going to flip this inside out now and go for the finish. Again, just continuing to wipe. It actually comes off pretty smooth, but I will tell you, definitely on those bigger panels, you definitely keep feeling like, oh my gosh, this is never gonna come off, but it really will. Especially in these edges down here, it's impossible to see from where you guys are, but definitely have a lot more residue. So folding that towel in, I like to use the corners here, be able to just really small little circles like that, get it spread out, get it picked up. Again, if you feel like you want multiple towels here, I would definitely recommend that. But that is how you coat the glass. So I'm going to finish up the rest of the truck here, get the sunroof done, get the entire windshield done, coat the vault, coat all the plastic back there, and then we'll move on to the interior. So guys, we are done coating the exterior of the truck now. So the stainless steel is fully protected. Every single piece of glass, including the side windows, the mirrors, the whole windshield, the entire sunroof is completely coated. Every single component of the plastic trim around is completely coated as well. I even went in here and did all of the vault, all this plastic up here, and then off camera, I also coated the wheels. Now the vault and the wheels you guys didn't see, it is the same exact way you do it to the plastics. You apply it on there with an applicator, wait 1 to 2 minutes and wipe it off. Didn't want to make this video super long, but what I do want to show you here is how much of this coating we have left over. And hopefully you guys can see that. We actually do still have a little bit in here. Now, I will say with this, if you are trying to coat the inside, the face of the wheels, and a wheel cover, you're definitely going to need a second bottle. Areas like the vault up here took a ton of coating. So my recommendation, if you are wanting to do your Cybertruck, focus on the areas that matter the most first if you're trying to make one single bottle work. So what I would do, focus on the stainless steel, focus on the plastic trim around here. If you need more coating, you can use different glass coatings on here. And I've talked a lot about those in different videos, but I really think a lot of folks, especially DIY enthusiasts, doing this for the first time are naturally going to go through more product than I would as a professional. Because I'm watching it, I'm knowing, okay, I need to add this much more. I'm watching it the whole time. I think naturally, the first time you do this, you apply too much product instead of too little product. So do keep that in mind. You can 100% do all the stainless steel, all the plastic trim. Trying to do windows, trying to do areas like the vault covers and wheels with one single bottle might be a little tricky for you. And this is not like I'm, skimping on this. I used what I needed to use here. So we're good to go there. Now, next steps, we're gonna move inside. So we're gonna jump into how to clean up seats and interiors, what I use for screens, and importantly, what I use for glass. All right, so now we move on to the interior of the Cybertruck. Now, in here, we do not have any real leather, but that doesn't really matter. The same cleaners you use on real leather versus vinyl synthetic leather like this are pretty much the same. And especially with plastics that we do have occasionally around here on the truck, you can use these as well. So these are 3 chemicals that I use all the time on Tesla interiors. Starting over here, suede and Alcantara cleaner. Now, where is this perfect for? Areas like this. Let's say you get a little stain on here. What you're gonna do with this product is never spray it directly on here. You're gonna grab a towel like this. You're going to spray a little of your product on here and lightly work it in. With Alcantara, with suede, if you get too aggressive with it, you can actually ruin this material. What'll happen is it'll start piling up. Once it's piled up, the material is basically completely ruined. Now, if you do have an aggressive stain on here, what you can do is grab a brush like this. So after you've put some of the cleaner on here, you can gently come in here and agitate it. You don't want to sit here and scrub it. Again, you'll cause piling in this area. It'll be pretty bad for that material. So this is great. Actually, this one has a little stain already where both of the phones go. So we'll be able to quickly and easily clean that up. I can show you how this goes right here. So essentially spray, work that in. You do not want to get this oversaturated either. So I'm gently working this in. You can see I'm pulling a little bit of dirt out. It wasn't too terribly bad. Flip the towel over to the dry side and gently work it in. I'm not pressing hard here. I'm just gently cleaning this. Now, the great thing with this cleaner actually is it does not leave the material kind of crusty like a lot of other Alcantara cleaners do. A lot of other Alcantara cleaners, oddly enough, you have to then put water on after the fact. And when you do that, you're oversaturating the material. So Adam's Alcantara and suede cleaner has been a major go-to, actually a pretty relatively new product that they just came out with. Next, we're gonna go from least aggressive to most aggressive. Now this is Geon Interior Detailer. This is really for when my truck's not super dirty, when I just want to clean off some, light smudges on the seats, clean up some dust. How you're going to use this product, spray a little, one big mist on the seat, and wipe away. Now what you'll smell with this is it almost smells like it has a little bit of alcohol in it, and it is totally fine to use on seats. It's not going to dry them out or anything like that. But as you can see, some deeper staining like this is not what this product is meant for. This is quick detailer. This is, I quickly spilled some soda or something on there really quick that hasn't dried, hasn't gotten sticky or nasty, wipe that away. Any sort of dust that's hanging around, this is perfect for it. And it leaves it perfectly streak-free, perfectly smooth, ready to go. Next, we come over here to our actual cleaner. Now this is PNS Express Interior Cleaner. The beauty with this stuff, it is heavily dilutable. So it comes full strength in the bigger bottles that you get. So you can buy it in 16 ounce in a gallon. What I traditionally start with on interiors is half to half dilution. So 1-to-1 dilution, and you can use this multiple different ways. So again, on the seat here, if I've got a little bit heavier stain, can spray it on here. I know a lot of folks are going to be freaked out with this, getting into the perforation of the seats here. Totally fine. It's not going to make a big difference. And you can just scrub it away with a towel. Now, if you do this, dry it off, you still notice the stain, then you're going to need to up the aggressiveness of it. So what you can either do, use this full strength, or what you can also do is now agitate it. Now over here we have 3 different types of brushes. This little guy over here is really soft. So all this really does is basically spreads out the cleaner. You are agitating it a little bit, but not a whole heck of a lot, in all honesty. This brush is a little bit better for getting a little bit more aggressive. So what I'll typically do here, spray a little here and really start to work this in. This has a little bit more cleaning power, but if you need even more cleaning power or more efficiency, this brush is great for it because you can really do an entire seat quickly. So you can just knock out this side bolster, spray a little on here. Don't freak out with the amount of cleaner that's on here. This is completely 100% fine. Now this brush, you can really actually feel and hear it gets in there. You get a very deep clean with this. So I would say this is really meant for, okay, we just went on a road trip. I haven't cleaned my truck in 3 months. It's disgusting. I really need to get this thing back to looking as good as factory. So that's what you're going to do there. You basically just work around the truck and get all of those areas. So this is great product to use on steering wheels that get really nasty. You can use it on all the door card over here. Now do be mindful of the buttons here. You don't want to just sit there and saturate the buttons, of course. You can spray a little on here. Typically what I'll do, areas like this, because you don't want to get it all over your glass, you're going to take your little brush here, spray this in, and you're going to work this product in. Now, I always recommend doing the glass the absolute last, because as you notice here, I'm naturally going to get a little bit on the glass, which is totally cool. Going to wipe that away. And that section is good to go and good to clean. So after the fact, then I would focus on the glass. So the other couple of things that I want to focus on in the interior, just quickly go over how to do our screens. All I typically use on this is Adam's waterless wash and a more premium microfiber. You can even use your glass towels on that. I don't love using these Costco towels on it just because I don't want to risk scratching any sort of that stuff, especially on the screens. They're very expensive and you want to keep them looking pristine. So that's what I would use on there. But after the fact that I get this entire interior cleaned up, we'll talk about how to clean the floor mats. We have specialized cleaners for those, and then we'll jump into the glass. Okay, glass cleaning time. I know a lot of you are gonna look at this and go, oh my God. And yes, there is a lot of products, there is a lot of steps here, but let me explain. So glass is one of the trickiest things, especially on a brand new vehicle. Why? Well, because we have something called off-gassing. Off-gassing is essentially all of your leathers, even vegan leathers, even vinyl synthetic leathers, plastics, leaching out all of the chemicals that they have in them from brand new. Now this is made worse in the summertime when your interior cabin heats up, cools down, heats up, cools down. All of those oils and chemicals are coming out of all of the surfaces. Now, thinking about your vehicle, if those are coming out, where are those going? Boom, right on the glass, especially windshields, especially Cybertrucks. This can be really annoying. Teslas really have very heavy off-gassing. Now, off-gassing lasts for about 1 to 2 years, and I see a lot of people do it very differently on how to remove it. A lot of folks just use glass cleaner and then realize, well, I have streaks all over my windows. And of course, cleaning glass, you want it perfectly streak-free. So I'm gonna show you all the processes and steps I go through to get absolutely crystal clear glass. Now, I've done an entire video on this, and arguably it needs its own video, but I thought it's a very important stage in here because I get a lot of people asking, how the hell do you get glass so clean? And these are the steps here. So step number 1, we're gonna work on the interior glass. This is all safe on tint. It's all safe on interior and exterior glass. So you can do this to all of it. Now, the main premise in doing this step by step is to actually get that off-gassing off. Again, I see a lot of guys just grab a normal glass cleaner, spray it on a towel, wipe it, and then you take it out in the sunshine and there are streaks all over the glass. For my customers, I absolutely don't want that. So the best product here to remove off-gassing is Brilliant Glaze. Now, this has a lot of solvents in it, so it's gonna eat away all of that nasty grime that is actually on our windows. How we're gonna use that is, again, with one of these applicators, similar to what we used on the Cybertruck stainless steel. Now, there are many different sizes of these, different shapes. I just have the circle ones here. So essentially, you're gonna apply some Brilliant Glaze to this, go into all the windows. I don't know if you guys can actually see, it is a clear window here, but there's just like grease everywhere as well. This is gonna eat all of that up. What you're gonna do is do all the windows on the interior. And then you're gonna go back and wipe it away with a microfiber towel like this. Now, after the fact of that, what I'd recommend is going in with 100% glass cleaner with another cheap Costco microfiber towel. You're not trying to make it perfect. You're just trying to remove all the oils, any sort of stuff like that from the Brilliant Glaze afterwards. Again, I'm gonna show you how this all works here. So we have two different glass cleaners. These are my two go-tos. So for that, I use CarPro Clarify or Koch Chemie glass cleaner. Either one of these are great. You can also pick many other different glass cleaners. These are just two of my favorites from what I've tested. Now for our finishing or our maintenance of cleaning windows, what we're gonna use is actually pair waterless wash with either one of these. And I pre-dilute these 50-50 into a bottle. And why I use waterless wash in this is because for me, glass cleaners have this very tacky feeling after you wipe them off, which can cause lint. I like my glass to stay very slick. So next time I go to clean it, I'm not fighting it and I'm not leaving lint behind. Also, for glass towels, these are incredible. These are the Rag Company FTW for the windows. The best glass towels out there. Don't get the super thin ones. They streak, they smear. This is the towel you want. So I'm gonna show you the entire process here on the passenger or driver's side window here on the inside. And then we'll get to cleaning that massively unfun to clean windshield. All right, so I'm gonna clean this from behind here, so hopefully you guys can get a little bit better look. So first off, I'm gonna grab my Brilliant Glaze here and apply a little bit of an amount to my pad here. What I'm gonna do is just come in here and work this in. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's all kinds of streaks all over it. What this is actually from is when they manufacture these vehicles, they normally grab them with some sort of suction cup or something from the assembly line, and it can actually make it impressed into the windows. And every time you wipe it, unless you do this, you're still gonna see that there. So spend a few minutes here on doing all the glass, going through, making sure you get everything. Now you're noticing it's getting much more even. We're not seeing any of those streaks throughout. This is essentially like almost polishing your glass in a way. So one thing with frameless windows here, if you want to get this bottom edge, you're gonna have to jump in the truck, get the window closed, get that whole edge. I'm not gonna do that here for this example. So what I would do is do all the windows. Then I would come back to this window here and start my wipe. So give me a few minutes to kind of let this cure up, let this dry, and I'll show you what it looks like. So after we've let this sit here for just a few minutes, what I'm gonna do, grab one of these Costco microfibers, and I'm gonna wipe this away. And what you can feel already, super slick. And that's exactly what I want here. I want it to feel very smooth. Now, one thing I didn't mention, a lot of guys like to use alcohol, and alcohol here, isopropyl alcohol, anything like that to me is, again, leaving your glass very sticky. This feels perfectly smooth, and you can feel it's got kind of this residue behind. Now, I don't want that residue there. What I want to do is actually remove that. So let's grab CarPro Clarify here. I'm gonna mist this on here. I wanna get it very wet in this particular area, and I'm gonna wipe this off now. One tip for glass, yet again, as you guys always hear me talk about, fold your towels into quarters. I don't want to see any of you doing this kind of stuff. This causes streaks. See how my hands are here? That causes streaks. I also very much like to work in one way on glass. One of the best tricks I can tell you is on the outside, maybe work side to side. On the inside, work this way. That way, when you check it and you see a streak, you know exactly which pane of glass. If it's on the inside or outside, if you have a streak, which side it is. So that's a good tip and trick there. I'm just gonna come back in here, make sure I clean all these edges perfectly good. Now you'll remember on the outside we already coated the glass, so we're not going to do this, of course. You would do that before you coat the glass. If it's water spotted or any nasty grime all over it, these windows actually looked pretty good. Now, what I'll notice here is I actually have quite a bit of lint residue, and that is completely normal. So next for our finishing and our maintenance step, we're going to use our 50/50. So in here I have the Koch Chemie glass cleaner. You can use Clarify and Adam's waterless wash here, mix 50/50. Now what I like to do, if I could get one mist, there we go, just like that. Perfect amount of glass cleaner. I'm going to grab our towel here. Again, this is our FTW for the windows. I always call it for the win, but it's for the windows. And then I'm going to flip and dry. And what you'll notice here is the glass is crystal clear and it is also slick feeling. It doesn't have any sort of that, tacky residue towards it. It just feels absolutely perfect. So when you're now doing your maintenance, when you're coming back, say, okay, hey, my windows are starting to get a little bit more off-gassing. This is gonna last for a year to 2 years on a brand new vehicle. I know it's crazy, but next time you just wanna clean your glass, you don't necessarily need to go through the brilliant glaze and the extra steps of that. You grab this, come back, mist, wipe, and you're done. It's as simple as that. The hardest thing with glass is getting that residue off of there. Once that residue, if you're just using glass cleaner, all you're doing is just pushing it around. You're not actually lifting it off the glass. Whereas that brilliant glaze is going in there, eating that dirt, eating that grime away, eating all of that oxidization on there, and boom, it comes right off and it's gonna stay nice. Now, it almost has a little bit, I wouldn't say it's protection, but the waterless wash, again, leaves a little bit behind and it is great to use. So what you can do also, use this on your screens. This is amazing for using on screens, especially paired with the FTW rag company towel. So next, let's talk about this super fun to clean windshield. Okay, now we get to the fun part, and this is my least favorite part about doing the Cybertrucks. These windshields are a pain in the butt to get clean, let alone tint. Huge respect to the guys who tint these windshields because they are just so annoying to do. Okay, nonetheless. So the extra tool we're gonna add here is something like this. This is a pretty much reach tool you can get. This one's from Invisible Glass. I've literally had this for years. This has helped me many of times cleaning, Lamborghini windshields that have a crazy rake like this that are arguably just as hard to do. The only hard thing with the Cybertruck is it's such a massive windshield and the reach to all the way down here is really annoying. So what I recommend doing is grabbing, yet again, another clean Costco microfiber towel. You're gonna wrap it around here. Now, the annoying thing with this is doing the brilliant glaze on here. It's really tricky to do, takes a lot of elbow effort. I'm surprised I'm even filming this because I really hate doing this, to say the least, but it's part of the job, right? So I'm basically gonna use this and I'm gonna put some of the brilliant glaze on here and I'm gonna scrub the living heck out of it. Now, towards the top, you can do it all by hand, normally how we were doing it, but to get all the way down here, this is what we're gonna use. Now, the cool thing, if I jump in the truck here, is that I can reach all the way down to that bottom edge there. And you can see I can get all the way down there. Hopefully you guys will be able to see me through the windshield, but I'm gonna hop in here and get started. So what I like to do here is move the seat all the way down, and then I like to move the seat as far forward as I can go. That's gonna increase my reachability here. So I'm going to set this up here, grab my Brilliant Glaze. I'm going to give it a healthy amount of product on here. Be careful not to get this all over that microfiber Alcantara suede. And now we get to have some fun. So we're going to work this in. I'm going to continue to do the whole windshield here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it does take a little bit of time. Another thing you should definitely do is take off the sun visors, put them over to the side. That way you have access to this whole area up here. So my recommendation, focus on the more annoying parts, which is farther down the windshield, work your way up. Your arm's going to be on fire by the time you're done with this. So one tip I'd make sure you do here, it's going to be hard to see me, but this tip up here on this, make sure you put quite a bit of Brilliant Glaze in there so that this edge all the way down, you're working all of that in. Again, this is just all about patience. I don't know why I save this to one of the last things that I do in the cars, but yeah, it's the thing I dread the absolute most. So spend some time, really work on that lowest possible area you can. You can actually see how far over I can reach just from the passenger seat. And of course, we'll jump to the driver's after I get this side done. Just continue to work this in a little bit until you're feeling it get super slick here. So I've worked to about here, and everything else here I can reach no problem with my hand. So I'm going to come in, grab my applicator, and do it by hand. Now please be careful when doing this. Don't get this on the Alcantara. I know it's tricky to do, but just be patient with it. Don't be slinging this stuff absolutely everywhere. You can work in straight lines in that edge and just go to town on this. So once we've let this kind of dry up, it should be about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes or so for this to kind of cure up. What you'll notice is it'll turn a little bit hazier white. Now what you're looking for when you're actually applying that Brilliant Glaze there is to not get it super thick. You want it to kind of look like oil slick to where you can tell there's a lot of oils in there. So we're going to take that towel off, put a fresh clean one on here. Now the keen observer may notice all the yellow microfiber hanging everywhere over here. That's the annoying thing with these towels. It kind of is what it is. What I'd recommend is like an air duster of some sort. So what I do, I have compressed air here. I'll just quickly blow all that out. Won't be there on the dash afterwards, but like to get this all done, then deal with that kind of stuff. So all I do here after this is dried and hazed up is take this dry towel on the end and just work it in. You got to remove all of this. I know this is not fun, but yeah, this is one of the things with having, you know, a cool looking truck like this with a crazy piece of glass on it is you got to figure out how to clean it. And this is really the best way. So spend some time here. The nice thing with this is it actually comes off really, really nice. If you find that it's not coming off well, get a new towel. That's the biggest way to tell that you've just got way too much kind of buildup and residue in your towel there. You can see a few small areas that I may have missed down there on the bottom by just removing it. So what you can do is kind of sit down over here and just extend as much as you can. I kind of do this blind. I'm not even looking at it, just kind of feeling that I'm getting into that lower edge there. I don't know, you guys can see better than I can here. So the glass is now looking crystal clear. So next couple of steps, now we're gonna mist this down with our cleaner and then we're gonna do our final wipe. Okay, almost there. So now I'm gonna take a brand new towel. I'm gonna spray my glass cleaner on here. Give this just a little mist like that. You don't wanna get it super, super soaked, but you definitely want enough on there. We're going to work this in now. Now this will look like it's going to streak it a little bit, and it actually will, but that's totally fine because remember, we still have our final wipe coming up. More you work this in, the better your final wipe's actually going to go here. So again, make sure you get into those corners, that whole bottom edge. Spend a lot of time down here, because this is not an area you want to be working with all the time. Okay, final wipe time here. Looking forward to this. So again, we have our 50/50 glass cleaner, Adams waterless wash, and our FTW towel from the rag company. So I'm gonna leave one side wet, one side dry as much as I can. So I'm gonna try and reach down there as far as I possibly can, but I'm gonna start up top, and I'm gonna work this in, then I'm gonna flip, make sure you get all those edges, and dry. And what I'm feeling here, perfectly slick, perfectly smooth glass, good to go. Add a little product at a time. This is an area you do not want to get oversaturated because you will streak this. At the bottom, what I would do is keep your towel folded in half on your wet side. Gosh, feels so nice, so smooth. Now, take that towel again, flip it. Now you have a completely dry side. Now you can pick up all those little streaks. And that, my friends, is how you clean a Cybertruck windshield. So I'm gonna finish the rest of the glass on the truck here, and we are almost done here with the video, fully wrapped up with the Cybertruck. Well guys, we are completely done here with the Cybertruck, and this thing is looking awesome. So I really hope this video helped a lot of you figure out what do I do on pretty much every single surface on the Tesla Cybertruck. A few areas we didn't cover were the front trunk area. Typically what I do there, some waterless wash on a towel, wipe that up. Door jambs are another one. They're a little tricky on Cybertruck. You have the raw stainless steel in there. Normally what I traditionally just use on that, waterless wash and a rag. Now if they do get really dirty, what you can do is use your wheel and tire brushes, spray some simple green or all-purpose cleaner in there, go in there, agitate, and rinse it down. Now, of course, make sure when you're doing that, you're not actually spraying the interior of your truck, of course. But now we come to the maintain side. So we've cleaned everything, we've protected everything. How do we maintain the look of the Cybertruck? And really from now on, you treat it like a normal painted vehicle. You wash it with pH neutral car shampoo. You can use waterless wash. The beauty about having the stainless steel coated now is that any sort of bugs, any sort of fingerprints, importantly, will now easily clean up and wipe away. So you can use Adams waterless wash on it, wipe away fingerprints, and you're good to go. So it's really now a painted truck in kind of the same terms, in all honesty. So what I would recommend you do is regularly maintain it. Don't, of course, just leave your truck completely filthy all the time. You're going to degrade the coating. Keep it washed, keep it cleaned, keep it maintained. Now, I understand washing can be annoying for a lot of you owners out there. You don't have time to get buckets and things out. What I really recommend, especially if you live in a climate like Colorado here, and especially in the winter, take it through a touchless car wash, or even use one of the pay and spray bays and just rinse the thing down. So when you get a lot of magnesium chloride, salt brine, whatever we're putting on the roads in your part of the country, rinse that crap off, and that will really help the longevity of the coating. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. All the tools, chemicals that we use, you can go back and see for each little section here. You know, for cleaning up wheels, you can use Simple Green, or you can go in there with the Iron Buster if you're not using wheel caps. Jumping inside, you can use the Geon Interior Detailer. When it does get a little bit dirtier, of course, go in there and use the PNS Express Interior Cleaner. Then on the windows, like I said, to maintain these and keeping them looking really nice, I would say every month, every 2 months, whatever you kind of see fit, go through and just quickly hit them with that 50/50 of Adams waterless wash and your favorite glass cleaner. Again, my favorites are Koch Chemie glass cleaner and CarPro Clarify. So either of those are great. Rag company for the wind towels on those, and they'll look nice. Now, as far as the trim here, one of the beauties about coating this is that it now has some UV protection, so it's not going to get as stained. Now, of course, if you leave all the mud and dirt after off-roading on there for a long period of time, it's going to be a little bit harder to clean. So after you're done having your fun in the desert, in the mountains of Colorado, rinse the darn thing off. Keep it clean. You just spent all this time doing this or paid somebody to do it, so make sure you're keeping it clean. Now, of course, if any of you out there want your Cybertruck detailed like this, I do, of course, offer these services here in Windsor, Colorado. You can reach out to me by sending me an email at colton@outofspecstudios.com. Or you can head over to cleardetailing.com, fill out a contact submission, and I will be calling you, setting up appointments, talking pricing with you. Of course, because the internet is the internet, I'm not just going to say, here's the price for this. So do reach out to me. We can talk about different services. You can, of course, skip some things. You don't have to get your glass coated, don't have to get your wheels coated, nor do you even have to get the trim coated if you just care about the stainless steel. I always, of course, recommend while the truck's here, let's make it look as good as possible. So hopefully a lot of you found a lot of interesting points with this, and make sure you're keeping your Cybertrucks clean. These are really cool trucks. They look great with mud on them, but they also look unbelievably nice when they're clean like this. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another out of spec detailing video in the next one soon.